Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bad Dad from HOGS, and I want to talk about what is going on with the Bitcoin price action right now. I know yesterday we talked about how this point right here, we are talking about how this is just the end of the spring, probably more than likely a turnaround point to the upside. I did give the opportunity for Bitcoin to go up, reach back around, and come over here and conduct a similar style, another dip or a retest, some kind of secondary test of the spring before we take off, as we had done back here earlier last year or mid last year in July, June timeframe, right? So looking at this time, what I didn't take into consideration was that, today is Monday. So Monday opens up with a new market. There's a lot of fear and uncertainty of what's going on with inflation rate hikes. The CPI is coming out, I think, on Wednesday or Tuesday. It usually comes out between the 10th and the 15th. So a lot of news is still sitting there, putting people at wonders of whether the market's going to go down, the traditional market's going to go down or up. So if we went over and look at the regular traditional market, you can see that Dow Jones down 1.4%, US 500 is down 1.74%. And if you're looking at a daily, it just broke down beneath its 50-day exponential moving average. So it's not looking too hot right now. The other indicator is you're seeing an increase in the VIX. It's up 20.43%. Usually these are indicators of volatility in the market. So people putting in puts, longs, putting in more puts, whatever the calculation is that's making it spike up. Someone mentioned earlier that there was a crash in the dollar. I don't really see anything happening in the dollar other than that it's bouncing off its 50-day exponential moving average. And then lastly, we have the 10-year yield, which is up 2%. And if you look at it, it's pretty much a straight wake up, right? There really isn't no up and downs as you've seen these other places. There's some pretty significant gains over the last periods of days that it was open in the market. So back to the Bitcoin price. So we're going back here to the Bitcoin price, and we're saying, okay, why did we actually dip down? So we actually dipped down and broke this low that's over here. Let's see if we can get in on that. If you look, this low right here actually just barely broke and took out the low over there on the left. So this one is stated here at the top. The low is 39,558.7, and then over here, what I'm looking at is this number up here. And this number over here is saying it's 39,573, 39,558. So we actually took out this low. I would have expected a lot of stop losses to have been triggered if this low broke, and it did, right? And we didn't really have much we didn't have much of a sell-off, and in fact we actually had a reversal. So what we're looking at is at exactly around 9:30 this morning, the selling off pressure stopped and it reversed. So it's almost as if institutional investors came in and stepped in and put in their orders. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing this, what looks like a bull flag that's taking place right now before the upside, before it looks like it's going to go to the upside. So I wouldn't be concerned. Because you have that timing of the markets opening up to traditional stock market. You have what's looking like a massive reversal in this direction, price action here, and then it's printing out a bull flag right here. It looks like it's still wanting to go up. So, based off yesterday's video, I was pretty confident that we did hit the bottom, and I still am very confident that we did hit the bottom. I expect this candle to turn back blue by the end of the day. And if not, if we take out these lows and this low does not hold, then I would be having to reconsider my position and think about maybe a alternate scenario that we may be visiting down here lower. First stop would be along this dip here, and then somewhere down in here in this range. We'd have to calculate some fib numbers and see what we're going to come up and hit. But if we actually did throw a fib line, so first stop, as I mentioned, would be this purple line. So exactly at the bottom of that dip, there's that 786 line right there. If that 786 does not hold, I would say we'd be revisiting the 90 and 95% before we start seeing some more downside. This is going to completely, when that time comes, we'll talk about it. But I don't think we're going to be visiting anything down here. Maybe, right? Maybe this could be an alternate spring that is taking out these lows here. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully this doesn't have. We don't have to get to that point. Just see that by the end of the day, this is a blue candle. So, anyways, good luck to you all. Oh yeah, one last thing. Saw a Yahoo Finance thing. It says Bitcoin falls below 40K as death cross looms in price charts. So this is the moving averages. They're talking about death cross of the moving average. So anytime it crossed here, you see a lot of sell-off or price action. And just right before, you actually saw that it started selling off as it was approaching the death cross. And so currently we're looking at another 50-day moving average potentially crossing over that 200-day moving average right there. So if you were to take into consideration when exactly it happened, you're going to have a pump up to before the cross actually happens. So there should be a pump, right? According to this, if everyone's acting the same way that they acted before and nothing's changed, because they're trying to take into consideration that death crosses mean sales. So people act on these indicators. So then we should have a pump and then a dump, right? This is all saying that everything's going to happen the same. Well, then we should see some uprise in that dump just before it. You'll start, if you sold the cross, you basically sold just before the bottom. So there really isn't much benefit to selling that cross or waiting for that signal to come. The time to have bought was way before, in advance of that cross even approaching. And if you look at it on the exponential moving average, right? Let's take away all these indicators. If you look at it from the exponential moving average, if you actually sold that death cross on the exponential, you literally sold the bottom. Like, that's literally the bottom. So just because there's news coming out saying death cross is approaching, you should sell. I mean, when people do that, if I had millions and millions of dollars, I would wait for that moment to just put in my massive buy orders to buy off anyone that's selling off their positions or getting liquidated out of their positions. I'd be sitting there right there for it. And then obviously there was a return, as it always does, right? If you look up here, I said this might have been the spring. There's usually always a double tap, a retest of where it came from before it takes off. So there's actually two different opportunities. So if this is the cross, as I mentioned here, right? Or as I mentioned back here, the death cross. If you sold that cross, you sold the bottom. If that cross, the exponential moving average, if you sold that cross, is that also the bottom? That's the question. We got to see what happens by the end of the day and what happens in the near future. So anyways, good luck to you all. Like I said, I'm a hog. I'm buying it up. I'm buying this dip. And if I'm wrong, and you know what? I get slaughtered. And like many others, they just don't want to admit, bears or bulls, they get trapped and slaughtered. I'll buy up the dips like a filthy pig. And when I see my price action come back up to the top, I'll sell. But I just do not think that this market is anywhere near the end. I think the alt season still has to play out. And if it doesn't, if Bitcoin just suddenly falls from here, we didn't have a blow off top, we didn't have an alt season, you can go ahead and say something is different about this market today, right? You have regulations coming in, you have things that governments are stepping in with cryptocurrencies, which never occurred before. Governments really didn't have their hands involved with it. So there's a lot of interest, outside interest on the market today. And that alone should tell you that something is different. This time it is different. It is not the same market that it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. This is a different market. So anyone who thinks that the market is going to repeat itself, just like it has historically, is in firm belief with that, is going to fail. They will get their time. Their time will come that they're going to pay against their beliefs. So number one rule of trading, if you all know, it's that anything can still happen. So, all right, that's it. Take care.